What's up, everybody? Welcome to Clap Back Culture. I am your co-host, Jules Jessie of Converge Media, alongside my co-host, Mike Davis of the South Seattle Emerald. What's up, Mike? Happy Thursday.
Yes. What's up, Julia? How you doing today?
I'm good. We made it to another end of the week and a good week. We got a lot of show topics to talk about tonight. It's been an interesting week, and we look like we're going to be rolling into a pretty interesting weekend. And what's up, everybody in the comments? It's good to see you. Good to have you. Welcome back to the show once again. It is what it is. Let's go ahead and dive right into it. What you think, Mike?
Let's do it.
So some interesting news, y'all, on the menu is always some COVID stuff, Mike. I see that Seattle has a new COVID mandate as well. But who's not required to follow some of these COVID protocols are the members of Congress and their staff. So the members of Congress and their staff are exempt from Joe Biden's vaccine mandate. Even though that President Biden called for federal employees and other federal contractors to have to be vaccinated in order to continue working, who's not a part of that are people on the other side of the government, which is hella crazy. He required that federal workers be vaccinated, but no one on the executive side of the government, which I think that's crazy because it leaves it open-ended for the House of Representatives and the Senate. What do you think? That's like the pot. What do they say? The pot calling the kettle black?
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It's crazy because I knew. I don't know about a lot of y'all out here, but I know that in Seattle, for example, when the mayor makes an executive order, it only matters to the executive branches of our city government, but the legislative and the judicial get left out. This is the same thing that happened with President Biden. Now, I was surprised in this case that it didn't encompass all, but in that language, it actually is right there. Like, this order only applies to the executive branch. So, the House of Representatives and the Senate, that's the legislative branch. When you look at like the federal courts and their staff, that's the judicial branch. So his order actually doesn't apply to any of them. What really surprises me though is that they didn't come up with something that would be all encompassing, because if we're trying to move towards getting our whole country vaccinated, those people need to not be left out. And those people are leaders. And I know later we're going to talk about some celebrities who have put out some reckless tweets, and then we're going to talk about how many followers they have and what effect that will have. There are actual leaders. When we're looking at these politicians, we're looking at people in Congress. These are our actual leaders. These are the people that should actually set the example. So it does not make sense that they are able to be left out of these mandates.
I tried to look up why this executive order skipped over the executive branch, right? And I did pull up some information where Nancy Pelosi had made some statements as it relates to, it being like a breach of privacy, if you will. But I really couldn't find anything that could truly substantiate why the executive branch of the government would not have to follow this requirement, except for it for them just being exempt in the executive order. So this feels crazy. I absolutely do not like this. I'm with you, Mike Davis, that this is just not cool at all. So we'll see. We'll just have to figure it out. It is
Yeah.
what it is. There's also a new mandate that came out in King County where you cannot kick it. You can't go out. You can't go to restaurants. You can't go to bars. You have to, unless you can show that you are vaccinated. So that vaccine passport is now alive and well in King County. What are your thoughts on that, Mike?
Yo, I just got. To be honest, I'm on the board at my daughter's school, and we had a an in-person board meeting. I couldn't go because I didn't have my card, and it's crazy. Like, I mean, I got fully vaccinated in March. I haven't been asked to show proof of vaccination just yet. So we moved. So when I'm trying to go to this board meeting, I'm looking around and yo, I didn't even have my card and I couldn't even go to the meeting. I think people are gonna have to have those cards and we're gonna have to show them. But I mean, this is where we're going as a society. Like, if people aren't gonna get vaccinated on their own, these are the types of steps that we're gonna have to take. And if this brings us closer to being able to kick it and being indoors and actually seeing people again, then as much as I hate it, I'm willing to let it slide.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is it's exactly where we are. We expected this. We knew it was coming all along. We just didn't know how it was going to be implemented. And yes, Leon, you're right. I'm sorry. It is the legislative side of the government, not the executive. And I said that more than once. My apologies. But yeah, vaccine passports, y'all, they're here and they are here to stay. But moving right along, let's talk about a little bit about some of the perks of COVID, whereas that PPP. And shout out to all the PPP scammers. Some of y'all are getting caught up, y'all. Go
Finally.
ahead, Cuddy, throw that up there. A California man is now facing some serious time behind bars for allegedly scamming nearly 9 million from COVID relief programs. Yeah, so this dude, Andrew Marnell, he's out of LA, y'all. And he recently pleaded guilty to two federal charges in the scheme. He came up and basically fraudulently applied for a bunch of PPP loans, which is payroll protection program. And yeah, he submitted a lot of misleading and false information about his businesses and payroll expenses, and he basically got caught out there. But the interesting thing, Mike, is that Andrew flew well under the radar and seemed that he got a little bit greedy. And so he fell under the radar, but then the suspicion arose when he started using a bunch of aliases and fake and altered documents. So the paper trail basically caught up to him, the bogus tax filings and payroll records caught up to him, and he has now submitted submitted to a plea agreement where he is going to have to give back $1.4 million that was seized out of brokerage accounts, over $300,000 in cash that he had at his house, a Range Rover, a Rolex Oyster watch, and a Ducati, y'all, motorcycle that he had in the driveway. So yeah, a lot of these people are getting caught with these PPPs. We did see the young lady a couple months ago who put up a GoFundMe because she got caught up with her PPP money, but I think that was only like 20K or something like that. But 9 million, bruh, if you scamming for the 9 million, you took it too far. First of all, 1 million could have been enough. You could have got 1 million and just quietly kept your little meal and just sat down. But you went all the way and got the 9 million. But you know what? Some of these reports, Mike, even though this is coming from the Justice Department, you guys, this is like actual in their report. a lot of that, even though it says 9 million is the loss amount, that doesn't necessarily mean that he had 9 mil. He probably had a bunch of other people that were collecting payroll checks in order to get that money so that he could get his cut.
Yeah, it looks like he actually did have some legit business. So I'm sure that that was a part of it. But then he started falsifying documents and editing how many people was working there, and he took it too far. But people have been scamming since these funds have been available, and yo, you're not gonna get away forever. You might have got away in the moment, but a lot of y'all, this is gonna catch up with you, and you're gonna have your day. This guy did it big though, man. He was in Vegas throwing hundreds of thousands down. He started putting millions in the stock market. I mean, he did the absolute most. I think he assumed that he had got away with it, and that ain't the case. I mean, he's looking at 40 years right now. That's crazy.
Well, I think he will do if he's actually the maximum penalty is going to be 30 because the other 10 that he gets will likely run concurrent.
Okay, so it's
So
together.
so it'll be together. But yeah, he does face a max of 30. I don't think he'll get that much. He'll probably get off with maybe like 4, 5, maybe 6. Um and to be honest with you, Mike, he better not get more than 10 years. Like, he better not. Like, I don't care how much money the FBI is saying that his loss amount is. Like, there's so many other people that are out here. Look at, bro, we just saw President Biden talk about all these huge companies and organizations that got away with not paying no taxes, billions of dollars in tax
Yeah.
revenue that nobody paid for years. So am I really tripping that this 41-year-old LA dude like scammed for some PPP? Not really, because how are we holding Nike accountable for the fact that they paid $0 in taxes last year? So I don't care. The former president Donald Trump never revealed his tax returns. We already know he's super scamming, and he became the president of the free world. So they better chill on Andrew. And good luck, bro. Your sentencing comes up in February 2022. Good luck. I mean, I'm glad you took a plea deal, homie, because you was never gonna beat the feds.
He wasn't. You can't beat the feds. It just, you're right though. That's the system. The system is set up to let corporations slide while individuals suffer. So dudes like him that do this type of scam and get off with 9 million, they end up doing jail time. But the corporations who don't pay taxes ever, they just get to slide. Hopefully one
Yeah.
day we'll see an end to that. But I mean, that's been the game for a long time.
Dr. Jackson makes a point. She says, with Jules, one is legal and the other is not. That's true. It
It is
is
true.
legal. That tax fraud is legal because of that clause. And it looks like President Biden and the Biden administration is looking to change that and have these people who are making a lot of money pay their fair share. So,
Yeah.
um,
And I mean, this is what they mean when they say tax the rich. Like I know everybody jumped on AOC's head for the dress that she wore at the Met Gala. And then people wanted to jump out and say, oh, you make 174K a year. When we're talking about tax the rich, we're not talking about people that make 100,000 a year, 200,000 a year. Those people pay taxes. If you
right,
look at your doctors and your lawyers and like just professional people that make really high salaries, these people are paying their taxes. When we're talking about tax the rich, man, we're talking about billionaires. We're talking
right,
about people who actually have enough money to not have to pay taxes. People who have enough money that they don't just have it in no Bank of America checking account where it's going to be taxed. These are people
right.
that hide their money behind corporations and put money overseas. That's not what AOC is doing. And to be clear, people like her need to be paid because if you were to cut her salary, then you create a world where only super rich people can work in government. We need regular people to work in government and get paid enough to have those jobs so that they can fight for other regular people. So
Facts,
there's a lot of distinctions that we have to make here.
facts, facts. All right, y'all. Well, the weekend is soon approaching, y'all, and the Capitol will face its biggest security test since the January 6th insurrection. The security fencing has now been reinstalled around the Capitol starting Wednesday night, or yesterday night rather. And yeah, they're planning ahead for the September 18th rally by the far right supporters of former Donald Trump. I think we got a small clip of what that fencing looks like. Let's roll it.
Morning, Savannah. That's right. Capitol Police are taking no chances this time. They've learned their lessons from January 6th and doing everything they can to prepare. You see this fence behind me. Last night at 8:30 p.m., workers started erecting this fence around the perimeter of the Capitol. As you can see, the roads are still open to traffic, and that is on purpose. The fence is just to protect the Capitol. And as you notice, there's now 3 layers of security. You have the cement barriers to make sure that the fence is knocked down, and also the pilings. Of course, those are for vehicular, make sure cars don't get through. And then in addition, you have brand new security cameras that have been put up. There's at least 3 around the Capitol, some very intense high security cameras. We're on the east front of the Capitol, which, as if you remember the images from January 6th, this is one of the main places that the rioters stormed the Capitol through those center steps and entered the Capitol building, Savannah.
Well, here we go. I mean, here's the thing, and here's kind of how I feel about this whole situation, Mike. First and foremost, I honestly don't think that this is going to be like some super big deal. But at the same time, I'm all for demonstrators like being able to activate their First Amendment right? Like they have all that. They have all of that. If it's peaceful, it's cool, great, whatever. And I support people, wanting to have their voices heard in a peaceful way. However, what I think is pretty disturbing is that these protesters are aligning themselves with the January 6th insurrectionists, and they weren't peaceful. They were extremely violent, and threatening everything that we have going for our democracy. And so I feel like that's a reason to be on high alert. Right now, the FBI is saying that there's no credible information about whether or not there is going to be like some violence planned for Saturday. But if you're aligning yourself to the January 6th rioters and you're coming to rally because you don't want them to be locked up, yeah, you can probably expect some violence. So I think the U.S. Capitol Police better be prepared for anything and everything, because you just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that FBI piece, it bothers me. It bothers me a lot. I mean, yeah, of course, I think people have the right to protest. I don't understand how whenever it comes to these alt-right conservative groups, the FBI always finds a way to say that they're not a threat, or even when the FBI finds out that they are a threat, which they did on January 6th, somehow they're still allowed to go through with all of this. I mean, we've seen these people protest. We've seen these alt-right people in the streets. They're the people that come to protest with their quote unquote right to bear arms. And they're never seen as a threat. Yet when non-white folks want to protest, they're a threat no matter what. And a lot of times they know damn well they better not show up with anything that almost looks like a weapon, or else their lives will be in danger. So it bothers me that the FBI refuses to acknowledge the threat that's here. I mean, they got the fence, they got the National Guard on standby. I think they should have more. We've seen what happened on January 6th. The name of this rally is Justice for J6. I don't even know what the justice is. Like, what justice do you want? People that got arrested for a hostile takeover who tried to stop democracy, that's who you're protesting for? I don't understand how the FBI could look at this and not see it as a threat. But again, a lot of it comes down to the complexion of the protesters. We'll see what happens. I would hope that it wouldn't turn into what we saw on January 6th, but I just don't understand why we wouldn't prepare as much as we possibly could.
If this were Black Lives Matter again, and I'm just going to use that organization for reference because they are so internationally and nationally known, if it were them, I mean, I think they probably wouldn't even have been able to get the permit to come and protest because of that. So I think because they're like, how do you pull a permit to be able to protest in support or just in protest of the January 6th rioters? Like, it just seems like an oxymoron. Like, You want to
Exactly.
protest for people that are domestic terrorists. And I think we absolutely need to start calling it what it is. This was a domestic terrorist attack on the Capitol, point blank, period. There's no way around it. But again, here we are. I mean, we're sitting here having to still fight for voting rights. So why do we think they don't have to be vaccinated? They don't have to. They're just letting the Proud Boys, the Proud Boys 2.0 come back in protest. They don't got to pay no damn taxes. And yeah, it's just, and we still don't get nothing. And there's still a ban on abortion, but whatever. Um, moving along, somebody else who is pleading not guilty are the ex Minneapolis police that they pled not guilty, y'all, to violating George Floyd's civil rights. They're back in court. We knew that this would happen. I think we have a clip. Let's go ahead and play that, and we'll come back and talk about it.
And we're following breaking news at this hour. 4 former Minneapolis police officers are facing a federal judge on charges of violating George Floyd's civil rights. Just moments ago, Derek Chauvin, To Thao, Thomas Lane, and Alexander Kang all pled not guilty to the charges. Chauvin was convicted in Floyd's murder earlier this year. I want to bring in NBC News correspondent Gabe Gutierrez in Minneapolis today. Also with us, NBC News legal analyst Danny Cevallos. Gabe, I'll start with you on this. What more can you tell us about the hearing today?
Hey there, Aaron. Good afternoon. So yes, that hearing is actually still underway. The arraignment portion of it is over, and as you mentioned, all 4 officers pleaded not guilty to these federal civil rights charges. Right now, there is discussion happening about whether to sever this case, essentially to split it up, so that all 4 officers don't go on trial at the same time. There's some discussion about that, but yes, Aaron, as you mentioned earlier, Derek Chauvin went on trial earlier this year on state charges. He was convicted of a 2nd and 3rd degree murder as well as manslaughter and was sentenced to 22.5 years in prison. He's actually starting to serve that sentence and is appearing at today's federal arraignment via Zoom from the state prison where he's being held. He's wearing a white T-shirt, listening to the proceedings right now. The other officers involved in this case are also appearing via Zoom. They're seated next to their attorneys. They're also discussing several other motions in this case, including a timetable about discovery. So that is ongoing right now. But yes, the federal arraignment is over. There's still lots of questions about the timetable for all this, but all 4 officers pleading not guilty this morning. Aaron?
I'm not sure why it was important to let us know that he was wearing a white T-shirt, but that honestly super stood out. But Mike, what are your thoughts on this? You know, we have a 22-year sentence against Derek Chauvin, and then we still have these 3 other officers who are now standing trial in addition to Chauvin. What are your thoughts in this case?
I mean, it's progressing. It's progressing as expected. Like they said in the clip, you know, not all of the dates moving forward are set, but I mean, all of this is standard. I expected them to plead non-guilty. Of course, that was also standard. But, you know, if we're judging on the sentence that got handed to Derek Chauvin, it does seem like they are likely to be found guilty. So we're going to follow this, of course, and as it progresses, we'll keep bringing it to y'all. But right now, I really just think that this is us doing due diligence of staying on top of it and keeping people informed. But right now, it's moving as we expected it to move.
Yeah, you know, these things take a while. So,
Right.
you know, we're basically 2 years into this, and you know, it's happening. I guess right on schedule. I anticipate that the other 3 officers will be tried and convicted as well. I don't see one person getting a 22-year sentence and then the other 3 kind of getting off.
Yeah.
They may get something. They're probably not going to get as much because they were clearly not the one who had their knee on his neck, but
Right.
they did have their hands on his body. So I'm interested to see how all of that plays out. But look, y'all, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the whole Twitter rant and Twitter saga of Nicki Minaj, the rapper, y'all, who basically came out as a vaccine hesitant celebrity, another one, and it kind of just went AWOL. It kind of went crazy on social media. Hang tight. When we come back from break, we'll talk about it. We'll see you soon.
Hey y'all, this is Julia Jessie of Converge Media.
And I'm Mike Davis of the South Seattle Emerald.
And together, we host Clapback Culture every Thursday night at 7 p.m. right here on Converge Media.
And as y'all know, we've done a lot of coverage of the vaccine on our show. And we've both shared our experiences about getting vaxxed.
We are here to let you know that in the state of Washington, everyone over 12 years old is eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine.
Keep in mind that there is no cost for the COVID-19 vaccine. This also means that you don't need to have medical insurance, so don't let that stop you.
You can get more information and resources by visiting kingcounty.gov/COVID.
If you're more comfortable speaking to a live person, you can call 206-477-3977.
The hotline is especially good for those in our community who may need translation services.
Or to set up an in-home vaccination appointment for themselves or someone they know that might not be comfortable at a vaccination site due to a disability, anxiety, or other reasons, or just to be connected to other resources.
Here in King County, the COVID vaccine is accessible and available. The summer is here, and we know you want to be outside, so let's celebrate the summer safely by getting vaxxed.
All right, y'all. Welcome back. Welcome back to Clapback Culture. Anyway, Mike, it's getting crazy. Nicki Minaj was slammed, y'all, for a COVID vaccine tweet that she put out about her friend that became impotent after getting vaccinated, allegedly. The White House jumped in, y'all. I think we have an overlay. Let's see the original tweet. All right, so here's the original tweet, y'all, that went viral. She says, my cousin in Trinidad won't get the vaccine because his friend got it and became impotent. His testicles became swollen. His friend was weeks away from getting married. Now the girl called off the wedding. So just pray on it and make sure you're comfortable with your decision, not bullied. All right, so she's having a Twitter conversation with her followers about why she made a decision not to go to the Met Gala, and because you had to be fully vaccinated in order to go to the Met. She was letting her fans know that she was kind of vax hesitant, and this was one of the reasons why. Now, initially I thought, okay, this is valid. She, feels connected to her cousin's friend, even though she can't become impotent, but maybe that's just something that, is holding her back is side effects, right? So I'm thinking maybe this is, something, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to agree with Nicki Minaj on some of her points. And there's other tweets, you guys, that she came out and was telling people, to make their own decision. But you have 22 million followers, Nicki Minaj. You have 22 million people on your platform. And you know who wasn't happy about this, Mike Davis? Joy Reid. Joy Reid came for her and she said this. She snapped. She said this.
Recent vaccine misinformation that's been out there, and asked you to clarify. There seems to be a difference of opinion between Nicki Minaj and the White House about what she was invited to do. Did the White House extend an invitation to Nicki Minaj to come here?
Well, first, we don't see this as a point of tension or disagreement. I want you all to know that we engage all the time with people who have big public platforms or profiles.
Okay, so that's not the Joy Reid clip. Do we have the Joy Reid clip?
I hope we do. If we don't, I know what she said.
Oh, Cuddy, you missed the clip because I see it in our spreadsheet. Joy Reid snapped, and basically she came out and said, listen, sis, I'm a fan of yours, and it's a blessing that you have this platform to be able to communicate with 22 million people. I only got 2 million, and they barely listen to what I got to say. but they listen to what you say. And so for you to come out and express this is negligent. And I don't like it. And so she came out and said that. And then there was another series of tweets where Nikki went ham, right? She just starts going back and forth. She's going back and forth with Joy Reid. She's going back and forth with Twitter. And then finally, the White House jumps in, you guys. And this is what happens when you have a platform of 22 million. The White House jumped in and they had a conversation with Nicki Minaj's publicist. And it seemed like some staffers had a conversation and they wanted to check in on the situation and see why Nicki Minaj was vax hesitant, to probably encourage her not to be vax hesitant. And so let's see what the White House said following Nicki Minaj making a tweet that she was invited to the White House.
Recent vaccine misinformation that's been out there, and asked you to clarify. There seems to be a difference of opinion between Nicki Minaj and the White House about what she was invited to do. Did the White House extend an invitation to Nicki Minaj to come here?
Well, first, we don't see this as a point of tension or disagreement. I want you all to know that we engage all the time with people who have big public platforms or profiles. Some of them we talk about, some of them are here, some of them you don't even know about because they're just looking for questions to be answered. We offered a call with Nicki Minaj and one of our doctors to answer questions she had about the safety and effectiveness of the vaccine. This is pretty standard and something we do all the time. It was a very early stage call at a staff level, staff to staff, and we weren't even at the point of discussing, or we're not even at the point of discussing, I should say at this point, the mechanisms or the format or anything along those lines. It was simply an offer to have a conversation and an early stage call.
So Nicki Minaj is feeling super some type of way that the White House basically came out and said, we never invited you to come see us, but we definitely was going to let you get on a call or like a Zoom or something like that. Nicki Minaj went ham. She felt like they rescinded their invitation. And, you know, why the hell would I be lying about getting an invitation to the White House? But nevertheless, I think it's more so about the initial tweet. Can we put the tweet back up? It's more so about this initial tweet that you can somehow become impotent and get swollen testicles should you be vaccinated. But I think there's some validity in not being bullied to make a decision. Mike, I'm going to let you take the lead. I'd like to hear your opinion on this. You're the only one with testicles on the show. Perhaps you want to, take a stab at it.
Well, I can confirm that my testicles did not become swollen post-vaccine. I can tell y'all that for certain. I just think that it bothers me because I think Joy Reid is right, and I really wish we had the clip. And I think that that's the larger issue. I mean, why do we care about Nicki? We shouldn't, but we do. And that's what it is. She has an influence over those 22 million people. And when she says something like this, her followers will fall in line. And we know that that's true. I mean, that's why the White House felt compelled to reach out. I think they deflected this masterfully. If you look at the whole clip, they basically said, I mean, we reach out to people with large platforms all the time. They probably do. You can't just be out here saying reckless stuff in the middle of a pandemic like this. It's just, at some point, y'all got to stop treating celebrities like scientists, man. Nicki's not no doctor. She's telling you some he said, she said about her cousin's homeboy in a different country. That means nothing here. That doesn't mean anything to us. I mean, I went to public school. You know how many times somebody tried to tell me something about their cousin? Oh yeah, my cousin at this school did this. Or yeah, I got a girlfriend. She goes to that other school. We don't know nobody. Why are we even playing into this, But unfortunately, as a society, social media has a really big impact on us. People follow and idolize celebrities. And instead of listening to professionals, this is where people get their information from. It's just an unfortunate situation.
Listen, you hit the nail on the head. And Leon said it with you. He says, I like Nicki Minaj, but once you're talking about your cousin's friend, I think she should have been more careful about that statement. So keep that statement up there. In fact, it came out that there was breaking news. It was a tweet that came out that the Trinidad and Tobago Health Minister, Dr. Terrence De La Sing, De Lousing, responds to swollen testicle claim made by Trinidad-born entertainer Nicki Minaj, and says that there is no such reported case in Trinidad and Tobago. So, in fact, they wasted their time trying to figure out, did this really happen? Could they find a cousin's friend? And it wasn't even a reported case. So yeah, don't believe it. I also think if your testicles are swollen, you should probably get checked out for an STD. Like, it's probably something else. Like, and here's the thing: if you really did become impotent by getting the vaccine, you definitely would have went to the doctor and reported it. Especially if your girl left you at the altar. Like, come on now. Like, it just sounds too crazy, and it's
so ridiculous.
It's too ridiculous for Nicki Minaj to have posted that on her Twitter. And in fact, y'all, Twitter put her in jail. Like, they put her in Twitter jail for a minute. And so now she's saying she's never getting back on the Twitter platform, blah, 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 blah. I mean, at the end of the day, when you spread misinformation to 22 million people are going to roll up on you, and they're just not playing around when it comes down to COVID. I understand that a lot of people are still vax hesitant. I get it. Actually, I don't get it anymore. I don't get it anymore. I don't get why you're still vax hesitant. Like, people legit are dying. The hospitals, our healthcare system is overflown. Like, if you see the number of cases, like, I went on the DCPS, the DC the District of Columbia Public Schools website this week, and I wanted to see the number of positive cases at the schools. And I was just scrolling. I mean, there's so many reports of every single school getting COVID, having a COVID case, and it's crazy. There's also people who are vaccinated who are getting COVID and who are discussing how, the vaccine likely saved their life because they had a really bad rap of COVID. In fact, the senator of Maine, I don't remember his name, but I watched him this morning. He talked about catching COVID and how that saved his life, or how the vaccine saved his life, because he was like, man, it was like a really hard, like, 2-3 days where he was feeling some type of way.
And that's the piece that's really kind of been bothering me lately with a lot of people who are not vaccinated and what their hesitation is. I mean, I just keep hearing over and over, if you're vaccinated, you can still get it. But like, that ignores all of the science and all of the research that actually shows if you're vaccinated, you're a lot less likely to contract it, but more importantly, if you're vaccinated, you're a lot less likely to end up dead. You're a lot less likely to end up in the ICU or on a ventilator. Like, saying that you can still get, like, it's stupid. At this point, it really just is. And like, I don't even really be knowing what to say to these people. And it'd be hard because these are family members. And it's just like, nah, I even got time for this stupidity.
Yeah. I think at this point, there's just really no reason to be hesitant. I mean, what options are we really weighing at this point? It's either you're gonna get sick you could get sick with COVID and not die and not be vaccinated and still spread it to a bunch of people who will die, or who will be on a ventilator, or who, I mean, there's just so much uncertainty around what could happen. But what we do know is that if you do get fully vaccinated, it can prevent you from dying. Like, the likelihood of you dying and catching COVID is severely going to go down a lot, like a lot. Like, there's a very small percentage that you're going to die, right? And to me, that is, it's worth it. I mean, I don't want to die. And I definitely don't want to die over something that's preventable, right?
Same here.
We're having conversations about, well, I don't know what's in it. There's not enough research. But when you eat at McDonald's, you don't know what's in that shit either. Like, you know what I'm saying? When you go to the cookout, you don't know what's in that. When you smoke your weed, bro, you don't know what's in that. There's so many people who are, like, tripped out. Like,
many people, man. Many people. When you just met that girl and you don't wear no condom, you don't know what's in that.
You don't know what's in
You don't know what's
that.
in that. So
You don't
it
know
don't make
what's
no
in
sense,
that.
man.
You know what? We're gonna end on that note. When we come back from break, you guys, we're gonna talk about this Freedom Act, the Freedom to Vote Act. Excuse me. Yeah, thank you, Mike Davis. I like that. We started the segment on testicles and we ended it with someone's sour vagina. Perfect. I love that. Look, you guys, make sure you copy and paste that link. We have a link to the Joy Reid clip. She sounded off. She did one of the greatest clapbacks of this month. We'll just say that because Joy Reid definitely claps back. But when we come back, we're going to talk about the Freedom to Vote Act and really the filibuster. We'll see you guys soon. Hang tight.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.
Welcome back, y'all. Yeah, you don't know what's in that, Mike Davis. You're gonna have to get that on a T-shirt. We're gonna get that on a Converge T-shirt. I really like the new merch commercial, y'all. They didn't have me and Mike in it, but I do like that.
It's me.
Yes, and listen, y'all. Let's turn the page and get on a more serious note. The Senate Democrats are now offering a new voting bill, but a GOP filibuster likely blocks the way of it being passed, you guys. But the Democrats have reached a deal, and so it's a watered down bill. It's still a good one, right? But it's a watered down version of the For the People Act, and it's called the Freedom to Vote Act. I feel like this should have been a little bit more in the mainstream media to talk about like how great this is. Do we have a clip? We have a clip that explains exactly what this bill is. Let's look at it. It's in layman's terms. It's a good TikToker who did it. I love this stuff on social media.
It's a great clip. Yeah,
it's
she
a
broke
great
it down
clip.
really well.
Yeah, shout out. Okay, so we'll watch it and we'll come back.
All right, I hope you're paying attention, but there was just a huge breakthrough in the fight to save our democracy. If you've been following us for a while, you know what we're up against. Dark money and lobbyists corrupting government, gerrymandering, stealing congressional seats, and voter suppression bills being passed nationwide. Well, yesterday the Senate passed a new landmark pro-democracy bill called the Freedom to Vote Act. It's a massive leap forward in our fight to protect democracy. The new Freedom to Vote Act will make Election Day a holiday, end gerrymandering, combat anti-voter laws, require states to allow 15 days of early voting, massively expand voting access through automatic voter registration, shine a light on dark money, require voting machines be made in the United States, implement a national voter ID standard with reasonable alternatives like utility bills or bank statements, make it harder for billionaires and special interests to buy elections, and so much more. These provisions are powerful and transformative, and if passed, this bill will be the most impactful pro-democracy bill in generations. We still have more work to do to get this over the finish line, but we're so close. Click the link in our bio to learn more about this historic bill, and tell your senator to pass it.
So the sad thing about this, y'all, is I don't have a senator, so I can't call my senator to pass it. So We need to have DC statehood because it's things like this that DC doesn't get a right to vote. We don't, anyway, I digress. So this is a pretty good bill, you guys. They revised the bill and it would make, like she said, the election day a public holiday. It would ensure that every state offers same day voting registration. It would set minimum federal standards on mail voting, which is super great. Love to vote by mail. And it would ban partisan gerrymandering, which we absolutely need. And for those who don't know, gerrymandering is the redrawing of congressional or electoral districts in order to gain a political advantage over another party, which is extremely criminal, and we shouldn't be doing that, but it absolutely happens. Not to be confused with redistricting. But anyway, it's that among other provisions. So this is a good move, and I don't know. I don't think it'll pass unless they make some amendments to the filibuster, but we'll see.
I agree. I will say though that, like, all of the Democrats seem to be on board this time. Even my guy out in West Virginia, who was against the For the People Act, he's also came around on this. I think his thing was like some of the pieces on the voter ID, and I think what they came to was voters need to have ID, but they'll like accept utility bills and things with your name on it as a form of ID. I think all of this is great. I think it dies with the filibuster. I think you're absolutely right. The For the People Act also ran into the filibuster. This is going to run into the filibuster as well. It's a really great act, and I want to get excited. I mean, the Republicans was pissed. They called this a federal takeover of state election policy. Well, you know what? The feds do need to take over state election policy because left to their own devices, the southern states are going to do everything that they can to block people from voting. I love this bill. It's a great bill. Like, everything in it we need. It's just, I don't see the Republicans letting it pass. And as long as we allow the filibuster to continue, things like this will just die. I mean, I hate to say it, but I just have no faith that this is going to happen.
I think it's like, and I think it's ridiculous. Like, clearly the Republicans didn't even take the time to read this bill, and that why would they pass this? Why would they want to pass this? Because there's still 84% of the seated senators that believe that Joe Biden was not, that should not be elected, right? They feel like there was still some type of election fraud. 84%, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy number. So why do we feel that all of a sudden they're just going to say, you know what? We want Black and brown people to be able to have the right to vote. We want people who live in rural country or rural areas to be able to have the right to vote. We want, they're coming up with stuff in their states in 17 or 18 different states, including Texas, one of our favorites. There's a law in Georgia. There's a law that you can't even give nobody water while they're standing in line. So why would they want to make Election Day a holiday? Why would they want to expand? Like, this is not an expansion of voting rights. This is just setting standard provisions. And what they're saying is they don't want federal oversight on how states should be able to direct voting. My thing is, why not? Why the hell not? The Voting Act was amended in 2006. Why wouldn't we look at this, almost 15 years later to say, hey, let's go ahead and make some changes on this, some great changes. Like, our Constitution says that this, like, they knew fractions, but damn it, they didn't know percentages. If you think about the filibuster now, it used to be a time where you had to stand up there for hours and convince your people
physically stand there,
convince your party, convince people on the other side that this is what you're standing for, and try to convince and change their mind. Now you only need like 41 senators or something like that to vote to vote and be like, yeah, nah, we not with it. So now it's come down to a vote. And correct me if I'm wrong, y'all. That's like 25% of the American vote. So you only have 25% of Americans that are in agreement to a filibuster. So, wow, I don't want to change what we do, right? Because filibustering will work in the Democrats' favor as well, but it just doesn't work when we're really trying to change core issues. In the mainstream media, I saw that, or I was listening to some of the commentators talk about how this could perhaps just be changed for that filibustering could be amended, or like the rules to filibustering could be amended or taken off the table in order for this to pass. I don't know how that will work, but I'm interested to see what happens, because something like this, our constitutional right to vote, just seems like, why are we having to fight for that?
Well, we have to fight for that because the Republicans know the more people that vote, the least likely they are to win. So
Right.
they're directly trying to stop people from being able to vote. These federal mandates would literally just level the playing field and set standards in every state to stop these individual states from attacking people's right to vote. So I see why they're going against it. Even the filibuster, though, to be honest, like the way you put it, I mean, that's really what I've seen in my research too. I do understand the idea behind it, and I do think there was a time when it was probably helpful because you would have one individual, they felt strongly about something and they wanted to be able to stand up and voice that opinion.
Right.
It just turned into something different now. So when you have an issue like voting rights, where all the Democrats are for it, all the Republicans are against it, the filibuster essentially is going to kill it every time, because you're not going to be able to get anybody on the other side to stand with you. So it's just going to die.
Yeah, it's annoying.
It's so annoying.
It's annoying, and I feel like nothing is getting done, and it doesn't serve the American people as a whole. Right? Like, we don't always have to agree on stuff, but we absolutely need to find some common ground. And I think our elected officials need to do a better job at thinking about their constituency and not thinking about their political alliances. Like, stop thinking about your party and think about your constituents. Think about the people who voted for you and what they want, and think about the rights for the people. Like, there used to be a time where we were having conversations about how many people could turn out to the election polls, right? We were talking about, dang, we want to see how many people we can get out to vote, and like celebrating those numbers on both sides of the aisle, right? And now I just feel like we're thinking about ways on how to narrow that playing field. That's not good competition. If you really want to know how Americans feel about something, let the people speak. There was that the governor, I think, in California, right? Not the governor in California, and they had to they did a revote, right? And they voted him back in, right? And then no one expected it. But guess what? That's democracy. Let the people make the decision on who they want their elected officials to be. I mean,
and allow it to happen. I mean, I see, like, just looking at this, I see why the Republicans are so afraid. You make Election Day a holiday. Now it's a federal holiday. Everybody's off work. Now, no matter where you work, you get to go vote. Same day voter registration will be a requirement. That means you don't got to register no time in advance. You can show up day of, register, vote. It expands the mail-in ballots. I mean, we've had mail-in ballots in the state of Washington for my entire adult life. We ain't never had no issues. The idea that there is an issue with that was manufactured by Republicans because they wanted to force people to come to the polls. And just like you said, you got long lines, hot weather, no water. That discourages people from voting. So I get what the Democrats want to do. I think it's the right thing. I support it. But the larger issue is there has to be something done about the filibuster, because, I mean, we have to be able to come together and push issues forward. And I think it will work for both sides. There's going to be times where the Republicans want something that the Democrats don't want. The filibuster shouldn't be able to kill that either. Let's do business. That's how we should operate. So it's just highly annoying that things have to stop like this instead of having collaboration, instead of having deliberation, and then just coming to an actual answer.
Man, Mama Walden said it best. She said, let the people speak. So,
yes.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think we're all, that's what I want. I don't want something to be voted in just because it's a Democratic bill. I want something to be voted in because that's what the American people deserve. And I want to be able to bend on the other side of the aisle for things that are more conservative. So we don't always have to want the same things. We don't always have to have the same things. But I'm definitely willing to bend in times to meet other people's needs. So that's our show, y'all. Mike, do you have any final thoughts, brother?
A couple. Catherine Keller put up a link to where you can go to get your Vax card if you lost both of yours the way that I did. Go there. I just did it and it works. You can find your stuff. There was another comment, but it's okay. It got lost in the sauce. But we're out of time, so I appreciate y'all. I'm Mike Davis. You can always find me wherever you find the South Seattle Emerald. Check me out.
All right, y'all, and I'm Jules Jessie. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Treasure of JULES. You know what it is. And I just appreciate all you guys pulling up every Thursday. Thank you for sending me show links. I think Darnell, I think you're on here. Thank you, homie, for always sending me stuff. I think we use some of your content that you send me this week. It is always appreciated. Andrew, Catherine, all y'all, Leon, Dr. Jackson, thanks for coming in. We appreciate you. We love y'all. That's our show. Peace.
Peace.